I'm Latika, Associate Vice President at IAMAI. It gives me immense pleasure to tell you that we have around 45% international speakers, 30% women speakers, and 30% international delegates who are watching us live at the largest virtual global FinTech Fest, organized by FinTech Convergence Council of IMEI and NPCI. This conference is presented by Department of Economic Affairs, Ministry of Finance, and Reserve Bank of India, and powered by Amazon Pay and brought to you by WhatsApp and Google Pay. To continue with the conference, we have another trilogue that will apprise us all about the insurance sector and its steeping up to the COVID-19 challenge. Here with us are the esteemed speakers, Ms. Radhika Mervin, Deputy Chief of Bureau, Business Line. Hi, Radhika. Mr.
Hi, Latika.
Yashish Daya, co-founder and group CEO, Policy Bazaar. Hi, Mr. Daya. Ms. Vibha Padalkar, Managing Director and CEO, HDFC Life. Welcome, ma'am. It's a rare opportunity to have such a great expert panel with us, and I would request the delegates to keep your questions pouring us, and we will select a few and pass it on to our moderator. Over to you, Radhika. Thank you.
Thanks, Latika. It's wonderful to be here on this session. I've been tuning in and out of various sessions from morning on this festival, and very vibrant sessions presented by Mr. Nandan Nilekani, and we had a recent talk by Mr. Rajneesh Kumar as well. So I'm hoping that this session will also be as vibrant because we have with us very esteemed panelists. So the COVID-19 pandemic has led to huge health and economic crisis across the globe. In such unprecedented times, insurance is one sector that plays a very critical role in helping businesses and individuals manage risks and cushion their losses. On the positive side, the ongoing pandemic presents huge opportunities for insurance companies because there is now undoubtedly a rise in awareness around risk protection. But the bigger question that looms is whether the insurance industry can rise up to the challenge, serve the critical need of the society, provide relevant covers for customers, and can insurers do all this while maintaining economic and financial stability? This brings us to today's discussion, insurance stepping up to the COVID-19 challenge. I've taken the liberty of steering this session based on three P's: profitability, product, and process. Let's see if we can map all the micro topics within these three categories. Profitability. Why do I say profitability? Now, the financial health of insurers is really very critical at this juncture. There are questions on whether insurers have enough capital, whether they'll be able to settle their claims. Across the globe, there are now attempts to quantify this loss that can happen owing to the pandemic. Lloyd's Insurance had made a estimate saying that the global claims payout could be in the range of 107 billion US dollars in 2020 alone. Now that's at the global level. Let's look in the Indian context. In the Indian context, and I think Vibha would be happy to take this, we have seen a series of factors actually impacting the profitability of insurance players. One, of course, is the contraction in premiums. I mean, the premium collection has been hit over the last 2 to 3 months because of the lockdown. Then we have the pandemic related claim losses. In many ways, it's like, sitting in the calm before the storm. We really don't know how much eventually it will cost for insurance players. And then we have the investment returns, which have, been so subdued because of the ultra low interest rates in the economy, which is going to continue for quite some time now. And then, of course, the rising corporate defaults, which to some extent, I mean, given the losses in the investment assets that insurance companies have. So, given this, challenge around profitability that insurance companies will face in the near term, I wanted to start off the discussion with this because obviously, only if we have healthy insurance players, the society's needs can be met at this, crisis situation. So, Vibha, would you like to start off with this? Probably piece in where technology can help you manage this near-term challenge.
Yes, thank you, Radhika. It's because it's a bit of a conundrum that you are faced with a lot of headwinds. And not just that, it's even worse than the global crisis because there was a certain definition to how the crisis is likely to both rise as well as get over. Here, it is really mother of all unknown unknowns, and that's where we are in the thick of that as an insurer. Um, at the same time, it's an opportunity, and at HDFC Life, we always see our glass half full, and so you don't want to pare down your expenses to such an extent that it starts hurting. You do want to invest in technology because that's the only way of reaching your target customers as well as servicing them. So you want to continue to invest. Yes, solvency is impacted due to poor returns. You want to show that up. You have an eye on claims because you really don't know how it's going to pan out in terms of a pandemic. At the same time, protection is becomes extremely topical, not just now, but even a couple of earlier pandemics that has shown an inflection point in terms of protection. So there are lots of pushes and pulls in terms of the business model. And that's where I believe that the stronger insurers, and not just in India, but anywhere else, companies, whether it's insurers or banks with stronger balance sheets, will be able to withstand the storm, as well as not just that, but a pandemic usually does result in a flight towards safety. And you will find, like again with banks as an analogy, you will find that the bargain hunter or the discount seeker will start thinking that do I really want to have that kind of a DNA for this kind of a product? So we're seeing all of that, and I think that one can easily get either consumed by the here and now and start irrationally cutting costs, letting go of good people, shutting down your branches while not being able to service digitally. Or you can be an ostrich and say, this is another storm in a teacup and this will pass. I think we see ourselves somewhere in between. We definitely want to take an opportunistic call in terms of the rising demand, like I mentioned. At the same time, the more expenses we can variabilize, the better it would help us calibrate as and when demand comes up. And we definitely want to invest in technology, and that's what, contrary to in terms of timing, we've gone live on our cloud platform because without that, some of our offerings are just not going to be possible. We are looking at having the second phase. We've already done one large bypass surgery of our tech systems. Now we're looking at phase two as we speak. So one size fits all, and one needs to react as well as predict to the best extent possible on how you think things are going to pan out.
Okay. Yeah, we were very interesting because, like you rightly mentioned, while profitability has been impacted, I think it's important that insurance players leverage the opportunity as well and continue to invest in technology and digital, because that's really the way forward. I mean, if you're looking at the current situation, it's really the inflection point, right? Because you can't really cut back right now. There's so much more innovation to be done in terms of processes and products, and which I will come to. And hence, I'm coming to the next P, which is very, very pertinent now. We are talking about product development, right? Now, the outbreak of the pandemic has made it very critical for customers to have relevant covers. And more so for those who did not have any sort of health insurance cover before this. No, but we all know that of all the products, insurance is highly complicated. It has umpteen jargons and hidden clauses. And particularly in times of crisis, it becomes all the more important for customers to be able to pick the product quickly, conveniently, cost effective, maximum coverage, all of that, right? And Yashish, that's where I want you to kind of pitch in. Now, Policy Bazaar has been a leading online insurance aggregator. And where the advantage really comes in for a customer is that I go to the website, I key in my details, and I know what products are available. I can do a like-to-like comparison on premiums, features. But in this particular COVID situation, how have you kind of gone on and added value to your business model? How have you given that extra convenience or experience to the customer who can go quickly and pick out, a product which he was probably not having so far to ensure that he is adequately covered? If you could probably touch upon that.
Yeah, sure. So I think both, protection against death, disease, or disability is highly, underpenetrated as segment. And I wouldn't say underpenetrated, I would say underbought. And, I think the customer also needs to take responsibility. As, I believe the customer's responsibility is buying insurance in time, not after a catastrophe has happened. And specifically in the COVID situation, you're seeing a lot of that. See, only 45 million customers in this country have ever gone and bought a health insurance policy on their own. Some have got it from their company, some have got it from their government. That's about 600 million people. But only 45 million people have actually gone and bought a policy for their own. And the average policy is 2 lakh rupees, which clearly, none of the private treatments of COVID is under 2 lakh rupees. I think there isn't a simpler product. I think industry, I think you guys also try to make it like it's complicated. There is no simpler product than term insurance. According to me, there's no simpler product in the world than term insurance.
That's true.
A person's either dead or they're alive. That's a black and white truth. There's no bigger truth than that in this world, right? If you're alive, you're not getting paid. If you're dead, your family is getting paid, for which you have to pay a small fraction. Now, if that's important to you, that if after somebody is dead, the family gets some continuity benefit from an economic perspective, they must have term insurance, right? If they believe it's not important, then after one is dead, the family going and asking relatives and, all that support and, friends putting in money, I think is lack of responsibility, right? So my point is I squarely want to put this on the consumer also, not just the industry. I think the second part, so the products are quite straightforward. They're not as complicated. Most health insurance policies pay you in case you get into hospital. Usually the problem is when a person already has a particular disease and is trying to figure out how he can get paid to cover that particular disease at a hospital. Look, it's already happened. It's too late. That's not when you go and buy insurance, right? And I think coming back, I think the industry and the regulator have actually been phenomenally good. I have actually not seen this happen anywhere else in the world, where they have brought out a specific cover, what you would call a catastrophic cover after a catastrophe has happened. So both the, COVID Rakshak and the COVID, products, both of them have been made mandatory on the insurance side. Thousands of them are selling every day. I still don't get it. You appreciate the total number of deaths and the total number of people in the hospital are still not majority because of COVID. There are other things also happening. Yes, COVID has the media glare, but the conversation is all about just COVID. So it's good from one perspective that customers are coming in and buying, but from an intellectual perspective, it's a bit frustrating, if you would. And I think the industry, after COVID hit, the industry from a digital perspective moved very rapidly in helping the consumer, because in this situation, one appreciates a customer may not want to go to a hospital and get a medical done.
Right.
Not just that, healthcare workers are not willing to go to customers' houses to take blood samples, right? Because, and quite honestly, I think companies that are insisting on that will probably get wrong samples, because God knows whose sample that they're going to pick up and give. What is the proof that he's actually picked up the right customer samples, right? So I think telemedicine, underwriting, video-based medicals, those kind of things have moved forward. So in health insurance, and this is not just about policy, but it's about the whole industry. In health insurance, now there's 100% telemedicals. There is nothing like a physical medical anymore. In life insurance, that number has moved from about 30% to about 60%, where, customers don't need to go for a physical medical. So only about 40. Life insurance, you are arguably taking a much larger risk, instantaneous risk. So there is that need, and that is proving to be a pain point. So issuance is struggling a bit, but on the whole, demand is high. Demand for both these products is high.
Okay. So I have a bit of a problem there, Yashish, with the statement you made. Okay, right. You rightly said that term insurance is a very simple product. If you're alive, by the end of the policy term, you don't get anything. That's fine. If you die, then the benefit goes to your family members. But I beg to differ on the health insurance product. Okay, and
Of
this is
course.
because we constantly write reviews and we get feedback from our readers. In fact, we've got plenty of feedback from our readers on the Corona Kavach and Rakshak, and that's why my next question is actually, so there is a trust deficit factor here at play. Okay, like you rightly mentioned, a lot of customers are to be blamed for not taking insurance, probably waiting for a pandemic or a crisis to occur before taking a insurance policy. But many a time you see that people are not willing to take an insurance policy because you either you pay and you never get to claim, or you do go into the hospital and you look forward to a claim. Many a times it gets rejected. Now, let's take the example of Corona itself, the COVID itself. Now, earlier it was understood that if you have a comprehensive health insurance policy, there is nothing to worry about because your existing policy will cover all your hospitalization expenses, right? Then came the fact that no, if you're home quarantined, those expenses will not be covered. Your consumables, which is, your PPE and additional expenses because of COVID, that doesn't get included. And we had insurance players step up and start, coming out, launching out with, dedicated Corona health covers, right? But there also there was a waiting period. Many of the policies had some travel conditions which had to be met and all of that, right?
Yes.
And then that is why IDA stepped in and they said that, hey, this is a standardized policy. We have Corona Kavach and Rakshak. So the idea is that everything is covered related to that. So you have an indemnity plan, you have a benefit plan. Now, my problem with even this is, and Vibha, this I want to ask you because as an insurance company, there is now this need to be as responsive as possible to the current situation. Now, even under Corona Kavach or Rakshak, the maximum coverage is up to 5 lakhs or 2.5 lakhs, and we're looking at treatment in private hospitals where this is obviously not sufficient, right? And then there is the age restriction. I Now most of the seniors are the ones who are the most impacted by this pandemic, but there is an age barrier of 18 to 65. Now, from an insurance point of view, I understand you have challenges with respect to claims and fraud and all that. But have we not reached a level, being so long in the industry with so much technology in hand, with so much of data, ready to be mined, that can we not ensure minimum fraud in claims as well as offer the right solution for customers, especially in times like this, in times like pandemic? Yeah, Vibha, go ahead.
So although unfortunately, life company can't sell indemnity products, we can sell fixed benefit. But to the point that you made earlier, this is not insurance. The pandemic is upon us. One prices insurance if there's a probability theory. This is not when it is. It's not if, it's when one is going to get it. All of us that in our minds, right? So pricing that kind of a catastrophe, you're looking at a very, very game. And is it really the private insurers' remit to cover every Indian? I have a different point of view there. We are in the commercial business. Okay, we need to be able to price risk. We have shareholders. We also need to do justice to the policyholders who get better. So if you're looking at a pooled fund wherein you mentioned senior citizens, those who have comorbidities, is it then okay for me to, and I can only have one price, then is it okay for me to price the person in all probability going to get better and bounce back and perhaps not require hospitalization for him or her to pay more? So these are all very difficult questions. Today, there is not a single reinsurer that is willing to underwrite risk for us in terms of corona policies. So why not ask those reinsurers as well that, guys, why aren't you in this business? And a lot of them are global insurers, or most of them are global insurers, which means that the paradox will be that for regular term policies, we will be reinsuring a large part of our book, but the very high probability of policies for under COVID, we will be retaining every single rupee of that risk cover on our balance sheet. That's a question that we have to ask, because with no reinsurance, we will be retaining the entire risk on our balance sheet. Couple that with the limited level of disclosure. If you look at the UK, you can't largely get any medical assistance without your NHS number. That does not exist in India. I can go in as Joe Blogs today to a small nursing home and get whatever, and that entire cycle of inflated bills. Even today, you are asked, do you have medical insurance, and you get a different bill versus you don't have medical insurance, or you come in tatters, or you appear to be optically of a different socioeconomic strata. So the issues get a lot more complex. This is core insurance. We would like to do more of it, but given the construct that there is there today, it is not easy.
Okay. That's very interesting. I didn't know that the reinsurance part is not available for these
No,
specific covers.
single one. We have talked to all of them. We've talked to guys who don't even are not even active in India, because we have a subsidiary in Dubai, for example. We've tried every which way of figuring out, can some part of this be reinsured so that it's not sitting on our balance sheet, because we are really venturing out into, like I said, mother of all unknowns. So how do you price that?
Right.
And again, to Yashish's point, I completely agree that why didn't these guys, the same complaining consumers, buy health policies earlier? Because, or for example, life policies, because this corona that we can do is based on life incidents of life or death. Saying insurers should cover. How about us saying that policyholders should also pay attention or become policyholders, rather than only talking about IRRs?
Okay.
Yeah.
Point.
Radhika, today
Yes,
also,
Yashish. Yeah.
nobody is stopping the customers. Today, there is a 1 crore policy, 1 crore rupee cover available for health insurance for 40-year-olds at roughly 3,000 rupees per month. You would agree, for a lot of people, that is not an unaffordable amount.
Right.
That is a 1 crore cover, covers pretty much everything, covers the whole, why are so few people buying? Still, would they? But I have never seen a single person who's in hospital who then doesn't repent that he doesn't have insurance.
That's true.
Right. And also the data. There's one more problem with the insurance industry. It's a complaint industry. So the customer who gets 20% of his bill rejected for whatever reasons will make a big noise about it in social media. But on the other hand, on the cashless side, all the private health insurance players, I know, and the I'm sure the government guys are doing the same thing. 96% of claims get settled within 4 hours on the cashless side. Nobody talks about that. How many claims actually, what is the claim settlement rate? But if 85-90% of claims are getting settled, right? So it is not like claims are not getting settled. But a guy who gets his claim settled is okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's the way it should be. But 100% of claims should get settled. The problem at low penetration levels, see, 60% of the country was insured, you wouldn't have a challenge because your asymmetry of information would not be so high. But when, 45 million people have taken a cover in a country of whatever, 1,300 million people, in that situation, a very small percentage. In that situation, there is a big risk that a part of that 45 million are people who know something somebody does not know.
Okay.
And in that situation, it becomes very, very scary for the industry.
Right. No, point taken, Yashish and Vibha, I agree with you. Now, I just want to move ahead. Of course, I think I'll go back and forth with this, claim settlement and cashless, because we have a number of issues there also. But let me move on to how technology, or now the fintech. Now, as we know, I'm coming to the third P, where we are talking about process, right? Now, the pandemic has led customers to adopt digital modes of transaction more than ever, right? If initially the insurance players or aggregators were taking the effort to kind of try to move things digital, provide cost-effective solutions to customers, Now really the need is coming from the customer side because of the pandemic. They want to move digital because they don't want to have face-to-face interaction, right? So how much of technology can be really used, and how much of this can be fully digitized, right? From my selling of the policies to claim settlement, because now medicals will have to find some surrogate tools, right? You can't have medicals being done. You'll have to have some sort of a verification, health verification, telecalling. So Vibha, from your side, I mean, as you see it, how much of your entire process can be digitized, and where does all technology come into play right now?
100%. 100% has already been digitized. And I'll give you a few examples. And for us, it was fortuitous that our DNA has as an tech. We love to, for example, have a in subsidiary that only insurtech. We also tried doing various lines of business. They can think differently, not be with red tape that an organization, a large company like ours, tends to get because of heavy on compliance and so on. Unfortunately, we can't have a the platform that we were working on, we've christened it's an acronym, but WISE is good enough. And that is something that has propelled us into end to end. And I'll tell you what that platform enables. So first of all, it's on a handheld device. There is no download. There's no heavy data plan that one needs to have. You do your authentication. You're doing a pitch to a prospect. After the authentication, you are able to pitch products to that individual. You can run small videos. You can do it voice-based activation. You can do it in regional languages. Once you've done the pitch and you've kind of honed down as to what a prospect might be interested in, thereafter you can do bespoke illustrations of whatever the individual. I want a 1 crore, 2 crore cover, or I want this kind of this is my risk profile in terms of savings and so on, or riders, the entire gamut. Post which you have a bespoke proposal, and all of this is in one sitting. Post which you are able to also do bundled solutions for him, so he doesn't, to your earlier point about complexity, if he says, I'm worried about this and I have a little bit of this but I want more of this, we have different combinations for us to give a tailor-made solution for that individual. Post which we are able to ask him a few questions, get his KYC done. He's able to upload whatever his salary slip or whatever tax returns entirely in that same journey. We are able to do telemedicals, and I'll give you some data points on where we've gotten on telemedicals. We are able to complete that. We are able to get him to make the payment and issue him with a policy. He can have a DMAT account, goes and sits in his e-insurance account. And the entire journey on this platform can be recorded if he so chooses for posterity. And like I said, regional language overlay. So really, there's nothing that we can't do today virtually that we could do earlier with the guy sitting in front of you or beside you. That's the power. We also have a three-way communication wherein through our partners, the partner opens the conversation and thereafter ropes in one of my guys because he's the insurance expert and is able to explain some of the nuance. It can be a three-way communication that is there. So really, it's up to people to embrace it. It's up to partners to embrace it as well as prospects to embrace it. But what we're finding is June was significantly better than what April was. And the adoption is something that I track. There's a daily tracker. It's that critical to us that we get people and all our channels to embrace an adoption. We are refining it. It's by no means a slick, completed product, but I wanted to launch it very quickly rather than get everything right. So yeah, there are some things that we are still integrating, but it's really good enough for us to, at least for our sales guys, to stop complaining that COVID and there is an impact of COVID. There is really no excuse anymore. Second example is on what we call as Insta Insure, wherein these are pre-approved sum assured. You know the customer, you have a fair idea as to the DNA of the customer, and you're able to tell the guy, with a simple 3-click It's the payment you're on, you're insured for either a different product or for a higher sum assured or whatever it is that that the individual is looking for. With our existing partners, we have rolled out Insta Insure, and that's another seamless. So it's a combination of data analytics and marriage of the line. This is here to stay.
Okay, okay. Yashish, what about you? I mean, see now, like Vibha was rightly mentioning, I mean, from their end, they have moved the entire process digital. But
Yes.
you will see a lot of customers coming on your website now, right? They'll
Yes.
look at more aggregators like you. Now, already you have your AI, you have your chatbot, where your agent, helps out when you're trying to pick out. What else are you trying to do in terms of tele-advice? More of how are you using your AI-driven chatbot more to assist buyers? How is this whole technology thing piecing together with your offering?
Yeah, sure. So see, eventually, what does a customer want? He comes to a platform, does his comparison, he does his purchase. That's been there for the last 12, 13 years now. I think beyond this, what a customer wants is to be able to conclude his transaction on the same platform or on another platform, but in a fairly seamless manner. Once the company has done the underwriting, he wants to make his payment and get his policy. And that is increasingly becoming a quicker process. Every time we have a new partnership, it takes a bit of time, but over it increasingly moves to a purely digital process where there is very little human intervention of any sort. I think the next phase is whenever, especially in the general insurance industry, not so much in the life insurance industry, because the claims are far more frequent in the general insurance industry. He or she needs to have their policy information in a digitized manner so that it can be directly integrated with the relevant claim or with the hospital or with the garage. So both the garage, the customer can see automatically without any intervention from the insurance company what is covered, what is not covered. Simply, and this is a process that's already running, for example, in motor insurance, where uh, for the 4 PSUs, we are running the central processing for the claims. We're not running it; we are servicing it for them. So we build the platform. It's done in their name, and such interventions you'll keep seeing. Our objective is that by December next year, that's a 18-month target. 75% of our customers have the ability to do all the way from discovery to purchase to servicing to claims on platform, right? And that when I say 18 months, it does not just take into account the insurance industry. It also takes into account other industries, because this cannot be done if the garages and if the hospitals data does not get integrated. So we believe there are certain background processes that are happening which will enable those pieces to also fall in place. And the data from there becomes, I give everybody this very simple example. When I had an arranged marriage. So when I went to meet my wife, they asked me a lot of questions. How much do you earn? How do you do this? I didn't ask them any question. And Shikha, who's my wife, still says, why didn't you ask anything? Were you too eager to get married? And that may be partially right, but partially it was because I already done all my work. I already knew, at what age, which boyfriend she had, how her nature was. I already knew everything. So there was nothing to ask, if you know what I mean. So about the customers, if you know everything, you don't need to ask anything. So I think a lot of the data pieces are going to fall into place where we are able to make those decisions on customers. There'll be a cohort of customers who will essentially move on to what you call a green line, where they get a superior level of service because we know enough about them from previous instances. They've bought a health insurance policy from us. They've had it for 4 years. They've never made a claim. Why do we need to do a medical again? They would have made a claim, right? If something was going on, or there should be some incidents. So, and now we have a large number of such customers with whom we have, historical data. So, yeah, I think it's now coming to the other part. I think it is misunderstood how much of sales actually happen on the internet. Insurance industry, and I want to just stick to health and term. If you look at the health insurance industry, the fresh business in a year is about 6,000 crores. You hear a retail of 20,000 crores. Of that, about 13-14,000 is renewal business, and a lot of it depends on various things. 6,000 crores is the thing. We alone are doing 700 crores. The others also doing stuff. So about 1,500 crores of health is happening online. So 25%, a quarter of the fresh business of the industry is already online. If you look at term, I would say 50% of term is already online. When I say online, I don't mean serviced online. I mean the customer has started his journey online and concluded his journey online. He's never met anybody. Right? So I think these numbers, which is 50% of term and 25% of health, I don't believe is what the industry believes. And I don't believe anybody believes that they've actually moved so much. And so what that implies is the level of focus from the insurance industry on the other channels is much higher than it is on the digital channel, despite this level of scale. And more importantly, the quality of business is far superior. The claims ratios are lower, the persistency is much higher, and the quantity is no longer small. But more importantly, 5 years ago, the same number which I'm talking about was minuscule. So the growth rate is much higher.
Yeah.
So my view is this is about realigning the entire industry towards seeing digital.
True, Yashish, yeah.
And there's many exceptions, right? HDFC Life is perhaps an exception out there, which is actually taking it very seriously. I've always said it. It didn't need to, but it has. But there are a lot of companies that are not taking it as seriously as it ought to be.
Yashish, no, I just want to, because we just left with 5 minutes, want to squeeze in as much more,
Sure.
Q&As that we are getting. So thankfully, you did cover the bit on how there has to be collaboration with the hospitals and the transportation industry. That bit you have covered. We have also other questions on, this bit size insurance, and connected to that, Vibha, I wanted to ask you now, Yashish has touched upon a very interesting bit where he's saying that data is already available, right, with insurers. And my question is, given the technology, given the data mining capability, that we're sitting on this vast database, now banks have been able to offer differentiated rates to good borrowers, right? What about giving some sort of an additional incentive to good, customers who have maintained good health, would not claim that much. We have no claim bonus, right? But what else can be done? That is number one, using data. And then the future of this bit size insurance that one of the people have asked, because like we discussed the last time, it is about targeting the youngsters now, right? And they want everything on the go, on their mobile, so they want bit size insurance. They don't want to use pay full motor insurance. They want to pay as you go. And hence all these sandbox initiatives that IRDA has started, we've seen a lot of innovation there in terms of products. So each of this point, can you quickly summarize for us, Vibha, because we're running out of
So
time.
I'll leave the first point to Yashish because we don't do health indemnity. But as far as the bite-sized insurance, I think that's a space that we have been perhaps in the forefront. New ecosystem partners is how we call it. We have 40 of them, and we have segregated them into things like health, e-commerce. We have telecom, mutual fund. So you're piggybacking on this bite-sized bit. I'll take a couple examples. One is one of the early ones to tie up with was with Paytm. The other one that has really done extremely well is Airtel. The concept, and we worked with them. It did require a lot of solutioning on a tech, because someone who's going to be recharging their SIM card is not going to be enthused if you're going to ask him questions and a lot of questions. So it has to be seamless, and at the same time, we have to manage our risk. So to give you the sense of proportion, we are writing something like 30,000 policies a day. So that's the kind of volumes that we're looking at, and each one of our partners are growing. Even like a ET money, for example, and everything in between. You have your some of the health techs as well, and your Quicker and Just Dial, and all of this is in the bite-sized segment. And now regulations also permit us to do that, which we really welcome. Of course, a long time to engage with the regulator to say this is something that we want to do. At the same time, we understand their concerns, and it takes time. But ultimately, I think they are very supportive, and that's where we are. And I think youngsters, especially with episodic insurance, they're doing something that they perceive as risky. It could be as simple as getting onto a flight. All of us do that. I certainly do that. That's when you have some quiet time and you're thinking, okay, do I have enough of insurance? And they can quickly come on, onto any of our platforms and enhance just for that episode, for example. So it gives a lot of flexibility, and also it helps us engage with youngsters. Start
Right.
young,
Yeah.
show them that insurance journey does not have to be painful, and get them to some extent hooked is the wrong word, but get them convinced that this is part and parcel of them buying anything on a Flipkart.
Right. And we have run out of time. But I would quickly like to summarize. So, very interesting discussion. We've gone through the entire cycle of how the insurance companies can manage their internal, challenges, manage the processes, products, bring in innovation, all using technology. And I hope that after we emerge out of this pandemic, like Ashish mentioned, customers are a lot more responsible. They understand the need of having insurance before a crisis hits them. And let's hope that there's more transparency in claim settlement, more product innovation, etc. And there is a full technology integration within the ecosystem, which can benefit both the insurance players as well as the customers. I would like to thank both of you, Vibha and Anshit. It was a very, very interesting discussion. Thank you so much. Latika, over to you.
Thank you. I think it was a complete power pack session and so insightful, even I would say, as a consumer end for me. And I'm sure even for our delegates, I cannot tell you so many questions are pouring in. We have almost a short time. I would request all the delegates to send in their questions on our social media handles. I would request the panelists if anybody from their side or their teams can answer you all. Heartfelt gratitude to the complete session panelists. Radhika, great job there. And to our sponsors, CreditWatch, Ebotech, QKFCO, SBI Mutual Fund, Bank of India, OnGo, and ID Sign. Thank you once again. Great session, guys. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you for
Thank
having me.
you. Thank you, Latika. Thank you.